Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Old Sun Podcast, Rodeo Time Podcast. We're back and forth on names. This is your host, Dale Brisby. Today we've got an interesting guest, Mr. Peyton Holt, longtime friend and lawyer of the Rodeo Time Incorporated crew. It's your first time to the warehouse.
First time.
So, yeah. You get to hear some backstory of me and Peyton, our history together. We'll get to some rapid-fire legal questions at the end.
A little bit of background on Dale's development into Dale.
Yeah.
As a young man blossoming into the woman that he is now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So some stories, some serious, some funny. Like to thank our friends, Rock and Roll Denim, bringing us a podcast. Reflex. Have you tried Reflex yet?
Wear them every day.
I need to get you in. You wear them every day?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I can't live without the Reflex.
Yeah.
I ride in them. I ranch in them. Anyways, let us know what you think about the podcast. 940-353-0890. I'd love to hear people's thoughts on how they're going. This is number 50.
This is it?
I think. Like my 50th podcast.
Yeah, and spoiler alert, this one, probably my fault. It's not going to be as funny as the others.
There's some funny
But there's
moments.
some funny spots.
Yeah, there's some funny
but
moments.
It's a little bit more serious, I feel like,
well,
than,
we're telling
than
stories.
the other 49.
We're telling stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll let you be the judge.
Rodeo time. Gotta get her on down the road.
You know, I DM'd Theo Vaughn. Theo Vaughn DM'd me.
How'd that go?
Did you see it?
I haven't seen your DMs. No.
Well, I know. I'm just saying. I posted it. Actually, okay, it hasn't gone out yet. I cut up the story on my podcast, and it's going out today on YouTube. The segment where Theo Vaughn and I were talking. He was like, what did he say? Oh, he was like, hey, are you in Tennessee? And I said, no, man, Tennessee, the music sucks there. And then I said, besides, that's where they had the first Denny's. I hate Denny's. He hates Denny's.
Yeah.
Have you heard his bit on Denny's? Yeah. Anyways.
Pretty solid spot.
Yeah. Well, it's a solid bit.
His bit, yeah. Not Denny's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's not a fan of Denny's.
Is it Denny's in general or just the Denny's in Tennessee?
All of them.
Particularly all of them. That's a bit of a stretch.
He's
right?
from Louisiana.
Yeah.
But
Covington, Louisiana.
But he was in LA for a long time, but now he's moved to Tennessee. So I don't know anything about. I was just joking that's where they had the first Denny's, was in Tennessee. And then I found out he moved there, and I was like, oh wait, never mind. I love Tennessee.
Yeah. Have you just DM though? Y'all haven't have you met him in person at all? He seems like a cool dude though. He seems like he's just lived a life though. You know what I mean? Like
definitely.
Growing up in Louisiana, really anybody that's lived in Louisiana has lived a life, right? Like my wife had a cousin that just lived there for a short period of time.
Anybody who's driven through there, the roads suck.
Yeah.
Golly, it's like the interstate, just like.
Well, like half of it's over water.
Yeah.
So there's that problem.
Golly.
But
y'all got to do something about I-20, bruh.
I-20. I'm just mostly on I-10.
Yeah.
And once you get past Lake Charles, it's like you're just looking for alligators the whole time.
Yeah. Because
you're literally on a bridge from like Lake Charles to Baton Rouge, essentially.
Yeah.
Atchafalaya Basin or whatever. So let me ask you this question. It's kind of pivoting on the Theo Vaughn deal. I'm assuming that you've listened to his stand-up comedy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Have you? I think we've had this conversation before. Like, have you ever thought about pivoting and doing some stand-up comedy stuff at all?
I think about it often.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
I mean, I know it's not something, like Nate Bargatze and all these guys that I'm watching right now. Like, I know it is definitely not just hey, you're a funny guy.
Yeah.
You should be a stand-up comic. Like, it's more of a skill and a trait, and you got a craft that you perfect.
I've done a lot of public speaking.
Right.
And I like to make people laugh.
Okay.
But I've never done stand-up comedy.
Okay.
Yeah. Plus, there's not a lot of stand-up comedy opportunities in Winnebago.
Fair.
I would need to have like a sure enough written out thing to deliver. I went to a farm show in Kansas, and this guy wanted me to make an appearance, and I was like, okay, and I didn't want to go, and so I told him a price that was like,
just my stupid number.
this has got to be what it is for me to be excited about driving to a farm show in Kansas. And I get there and I pull in the front gate, and I found it odd that they were charging to get into the farm show in Kansas. But anyways, he was like, "Oh no, you're the guy on the poster. You're performing at 1:00." And I was like, "Well, there must be a few guys on that poster because I'm not performing anything." He's like, "Oh yeah, long hair, sunglasses. Yeah, you're doing stand-up comedy at 1." And I was like, that's news to me. And it was like 10:30 or 11, and I pull up. Sure enough, he like had advertised that I'm going to do stand-up comedy at a farm show in Kansas. Average age of spectator is like 58.
Yeah.
Average age.
Yeah. So the Denny jokes would have hit hard.
Yes.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like sit in my truck and I think of like the best deal I could, routine that I could have possibly come up with. And I thought to myself, I need to get somebody to film it in the back. And I was like, nope, I don't want this documented. Anyway, matter of fact, I'm going to tell people to put their phones down.
Dave Chappelle style.
It went about like you would think a person's first comedy show at a farm show would have gone. But the next day, crowd was much younger, and it went way better. And it was essentially like the same jokes.
School day at the farm show.
Yeah, and it was like younger people.
Yeah.
The next day was way better. But like the first day, like nobody understood what I do or who I am or why I was talking the way I was talking.
Right.
And the second day, like there were like actual Dale Brisby fans there. And which I get it the first day. Like you don't know who I am. You don't know what I'm like. It takes an elite sense of humor.
That's about
to understand.
Do you have that problem with, like, on your social media stuff and your YouTube channels? Do you feel like what do you feel like your demographic base is? Right? Are there like 68-year-old ranchers, like real life guys that we know that are like, dude, you nailed me, right? Or is it
so like Mike's girlfriend, Katie Kaufman?
Yeah,
her dad.
Okay.
It's like I think that's one of the biggest things that bothers her is how much of a fan her dad is.
Yeah.
Who's like, late 60s, rancher, gets horseback every day kind of guy.
Yeah. So she can't get over you because he's always bringing her.
Well, she probably can't get over me, period.
Right.
And then she has to deal with that.
That's fair.
But yeah, there's older, that's the thing. And the booths tell the story. Like you take a picture, get down on a knee, take a picture with a 4-year-old that can say, pow pow, and on to the next one, recite all this stuff, and then take a picture with somebody's grandmother, who gets on Facebook all the time.
Right.
That's all it takes. Appreciation for the industry, and then somebody who gets on social media often. And, of course, a good sense of humor.
Yeah. Well, you're just born with those, though. I guess you could develop them, but it's kind of tough.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to...
I like how I feel like you're the host of this podcast.
Well, dude, when you said you wanted to do a podcast, I was like, dude, I'm a lawyer, man. Like, nobody wants to hear what I have to say, right? So it's like, I got to do more interviewing you.
Okay.
Because I'm sure that there's stuff that, I'm sure somebody has wondered somewhere, hey, how come Dale doesn't do stand-up comedy? Because, I mean, to be fair, and one of your best friends, I think you'd be great at it. I think you would have to develop into that deal. I agree. Winnebago would probably be a tough spot to get going.
At the cafe.
Yeah,
Carla would let in the mornings. We just ate at the
I can see her just
local
not
Winnebago
laughing
cafe.
Once. Yeah,
she would laugh. She'd be my biggest fan, I think. Yeah, she would laugh. Rick.
Yeah.
Rick would laugh.
Yeah.
I don't know if Rick would get it. Oh man.
But the humor would have to be, like, if you were going to get like a Netflix special on a comedy show, you know what I mean? Like, you kind of have to have a wide variety of things. But at the same time,
what do you mean wide?
I think you got to have it can't be particularly niche to a particular industry, right? Like we would have a bunch of funny anecdotes and jokes and scenarios where we're talking about, ag stuff.
I don't know, man. I think that would hit. Especially if you can connect people in that world. And like if you have
Okay,
a way of
okay.
explaining it to people, you know, and like just the differences, you know.
Yeah, and I guess the stories are funny in and of themselves, right?
Yeah, because sometimes they're so off the wall. And like Drew Merritt, my buddy from LA,
Yeah.
he grew up in New Mexico and then lived in LA for the last 10 years. And that's one of the things that we talked about on the last podcast with him was like, because he knew personally some creators in LA and that I follow. And so it was interesting. Anyways, he was talking about how good we have it here because like a couple of rodeo times back, it was like rodeo time 212. Carl Wayne almost died and he almost killed us.
Yeah.
Like we just literally walked outside. Carl Wayne had his head stuck in a panel and was
Right.
trying to kill everybody, carrying around an 80-pound panel.
Right.
And so Donnie turned on the camera and we rescued him.
Yeah.
You know, got a saw out, cut up the panel, and then he tried to kill everybody. And it was just like this awesome video. Got like 200,000 views on Instagram because it was genuinely entertaining, you know,
Right.
and it was like not planned or rehearsed or anything. Well, like if you live in LA and you live in an apartment or even a house in LA
Yeah,
and you're a
yeah.
content creator, like you better have some talent.
Yeah.
And you better go, and a lot of those,
Because a bull,
and
bull
they
with his
do.
head stuck in a fence doesn't just fall out. In your
Exactly.
lap. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, and a lot of them do, you know, and that's why they're in LA. But he was just talking about like how good we have it and how interesting that is. That's one thing I found with the life that we live is that you and I, for most of our lives, underestimated how interesting
Yeah.
our lives are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I started learning that through the internship program. People that would come here that were like intrigued with this lifestyle that wanted to learn about it and how willing they were to work for free to learn about it.
Right.
I'm not going to do this job for free.
No.
You know,
Yeah.
like I've been doing it my whole life.
Right.
You know, you're going to have to pay me. But to somebody that grew up not around it and they want to learn about it and they're interested in it, it's, you know, they'd almost pay me to do it.
What is that? Now, I know we've brought in interns, we've done all that, but, you know, I was just thinking about, like, whenever I went to college, like, we'd be interacting. We would do, like, trips, and we'd go camping and stuff. And I don't know if we went out to y'all's spot, the ranch that you were managing. I don't think we went out there, group of guys. But we'd have, like, a group of guys from Dallas and Houston who had never been around
Man, I
cattle
think y'all
before.
might have came out there once.
I think we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I remember, and we swam in that tank and anyway.
Yeah, y'all came out
But we
there.
had guys that were coming, and they were like, you know, from the spring area of Houston and you know, certain spots of Dallas, but like they had never been around cattle before, and it was weird for me. Like it was like eye opening to see how they perceived cattle, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like you know, where we grew up, it was like cows are like just really big dogs that could hurt you if they get
Yeah.
crazy. But like for the most part, they're just gonna leave you alone, right? Like
Yeah.
like you can shoo at them and they'll run away. And like these guys were just acting like these cows were like bears hunting them at night, you
Yeah.
know. And I was like,
Well, what's scary is sometimes the opposite. So I got like
Yeah.
they're not fighting bulls, bucking bulls. And one of them's kind of bad, New Mexico bad boy. And as someone who owns the bulls, you don't want to just live on the fence.
sure,
You teach them, you'll teach them that they can keep you there, and they
Right.
will.
Right.
And it'll teach the bull that he can run you. But you also don't want to, so I'll walk in the pen with him, but I'm not turning my back on him.
right,
And so I've got this like sensitivity to like, and respect for him,
Sure.
but I'm also not going to cower to him.
right,
You know, because they'll feel it. And if you cower to them, they'll dig in,
Yeah.
just like a dog.
yeah,
And I had the last intern, Nick, that was one thing I had to explain to him, because when he left me, he went to go work for a bull guy. And I was like, dude, you can't,
you gotta keep your head on
because
a
he would just
swivel, dude.
walk in there.
Yeah,
And he didn't understand the little nuances I had as far as paying attention. And at any time, I could have exited really quick.
Yeah.
He couldn't.
Yeah.
And anyways, it was a good conversation. I just had to open his eyes, but he was oblivious to what this animal was capable of.
yeah,
it's kind of the opposite of what you're talking about.
Well, yeah, but like in my situation, it was like just getting out in a pasture with mama cows, right? Like these, and there's some crazy cows, but I mean, bulls are a different story, obviously, and then definitely rodeo bulls, bucking bulls, and then Carl Wayne with his aggressive nature.
Yeah.
That dude, he's got a small man syndrome. Carl Wayne does.
Yeah.
A little bit. Like
And
he
Nick-
comes out hot.
Nick, I don't know if you know this. It's not been on my YouTube, but like Nick experienced that.
Oh, he got
It did get filmed,
Okay, good.
but not by my YouTube camera.
Okay.
Nick
okay.
experienced that to the fullest.
Did Nick
First
did
thing
he learn
they
from
filmed.
that experience?
First thing they filmed.
Wow.
It was wonderful. It
Yeah.
will be wonderful one day.
And that reminds me of this story where I had I don't know if you remember, I had a Rottweiler.
He didn't learn. He went back.
He did. He went back
Twice.
dude. Because that's I had an American steer. I think my senior year of high school, I showed us an American steer, and we had our chutes over here. The barn was right here, and our wash rack where we'd wash the steers would be kind of behind the barn. Anyway, had a Rottweiler, came around the corner of the barn. I was walking the steer back and put him in the pen. This Rottweiler tried to like sneak behind him, right? And dude, that sucker just pinned him up against the barn.
Your steer did.
The steer did, yeah.
Yeah.
And pinned the Rottweiler, boom. And Rottweiler, nothing went wrong with him. He's fine. He just got kicked pretty good.
Learned his lesson.
And then like the next day, I'm over there and washing the same steer. It's like repeat the same scenario. The dog comes walking around the corner, sees me walking. He's like, "Oh, my bad." He walked backwards, like he didn't turn around. He was like, "No, I'm good."
Yeah.
So Nick did not have that experience.
No.
He just.
He tried to take it a step further.
Oh. Okay.
One day we'll see.
I don't
it.
want to spoil it.
Yeah,
I don't want to spoil it.
Anyway. Yeah, Carl Wayne was interesting. We got a lot of stuff with him. Yeah.
He's the Casey Donahue bull?
Yeah, we got him from Casey Donahue.
Yeah.
I bought him from Casey, so he got out of Casey. Casey's got a high fence place in Throckmorton, but he tried to catch these cows in the pen, and this bull got out, and so I went, and me and Leroy went and roped him and drug him in my half top, and he was like, "Well, you want to buy him from me?" And so I bought him and used him for that. I mean, exactly what he was used for, content, and made like $100 on him when I sold him.
You sold him?
Yeah, he gone.
Yeah.
That's a whole story, also.
Yeah.
There's so much that's happened in the last couple of months. But anyway, I feel like people would want to hear from Dale Brisby's lawyer.
I don't know if that's true. When we lived together in college, I was thinking about this when I was driving up here. When we lived together in college, like I was not on the rodeo team. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if we've ever talked about this, so this might be a therapy session between you and I. But, like you and Jacobs and the rodeo guy, and Ross, it was such a weird, I don't want to say weird, but it was such an interesting dynamic looking back on it for me, because I felt like, and this is a shout out to all the rodeo moms and girlfriends and wives, because I felt like I was like your wife, right? Because we're living in the house, and I'm just going to school, just being a regular college kid, but y'all were like really living on the weekends, like weekends y'all were always going to rodeos,
yeah,
and then I'm going to parties and doing different stuff like regular college kids, but then I would like clean up everything and get everything, and then like y'all would come back and then just like dump all your rigging gear in the living room. And I was like, well, this is what my week looks like, like this is what we're doing during the week, and it's not that big a deal because I'm not there mostly during the week, and then like so like the weekend, the house was mine during the weekend, and then during the week it was really y'all's, and I was going to class, and y'all were too, but it just had that weird feel to it. And so to connect that to now, sometimes I feel like I have that same situation where it's like you'll call me like on some deals, we can't talk about some of them, but you call me and be like, hey, this is a mess. And I'm like, okay, I'll clean it up. You know what I mean? Like, it's like this one deal, a couple deals pop off and it's like, hey, we're getting in a hurry or we're getting in a bad spot here. It's like, all right, I'll clean up this rigging gear real quick, metaphorically.
Yeah.
And, but it's been fun, man. I'm like I said, I'm glad that I came up here and to see what all that is going on, because, and I think a lot of your followers, a lot of your audience will appreciate this. It's like those ag-based guys, you see, like you work with your hands, and at the end of the day, you have something tangible to touch, right? Like, and it might not necessarily be something that you physically hold in your hands, but if you plow a field all day, and you plow 1,000 acres, at the end of the day, you turn around and you see you see what you did.
You sell a calf.
Right. Or you AI a cow, then then you do the calving deal, then you wean it. So like there's always something tangible, but it's always something growing. But you can see what you're growing, right? And the thing that has been so like with my background growing up in the ag world, similar fondness for that, right? Where it's like, hey, like I appreciate seeing something which is why I like to mow my own yard, right? Like this, because that's really the only thing that I have. Because in my world and where I'm at, on my computer, I turn my computer off and it looks the exact same as it did that morning, right? I might have started 4 companies and won a different motion or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like we moved the needle, but I don't have anything really tangible.
Yeah.
That I'm like, yeah, that's it,
Yeah.
And so like the Rodeo Time company for me for a long time until this is my first time here.
Right.
First time seeing it. I don't think I came to your house when the house was the warehouse.
No, this is your first time to Winnebago.
Yeah. And man, it's been kind of a,
yeah, that's wild that you got to skip to I don't want to say the end, but the present, just because of but
I remember when we formed it, right? We formed it and we started doing trademarks. And so like, think of it from my side of the table where, you're moving the needle, you're going in NFR and we're doing different things and you're out in your public and we're growing a product line and we're doing all of this stuff and everything is very tangible here, right? On my end, like I could put all of our stuff in document form, like between my 2 hands, right? And I never get to make that connection between, these 5 corporate books and the contracts and stuff that we've done to the hats and the logos and you know what I mean? Like seeing it out.
Well,
out
if
in the
anything,
world.
I think the people too, the culture of the company is probably the biggest thing that I think you've not been able to experience.
Yeah.
The culture of like inside the warehouse.
Yeah.
And while we're filming.
Yeah.
Those things.
Yeah.
You get to see the end product of that we put out, but while we're filming. And so that in essence is that's what I have my hand in the most. I don't do much with the shirts or caps. It's more about the content. That's what I work on every day. Yeah. Is the content. Yeah. And then Lisa, she handles everything else. Yeah. She could clean me out. I wouldn't even know
but until this morning, she was just a name, right?
For you. Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I'd never met her. I didn't even know what she looked like.
Yeah.
I didn't. If she had brown hair or blonde hair, I wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
Which is kind of put a fire.
She's got blonde hair. Yeah, by the way.
Hair. Yeah.
She's 43. She's a firecracker. Single mom.
Just rocking and rolling.
If there's any, there are not any eligible bachelors out there. She's the backbone of Rodeo Time.
That says something.
For real.
Yeah.
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 I don't ever talk about Lisa. But
she deserves to be talked about. She's rocking. She's rocking and rolling for sure.
But yeah, so the videos, the content, and then the culture of the company are things I try to, keep my involvement in the most. Well, I like with designs. I like dealing with designs.
Yeah.
Like that cap right there. Like I was pretty excited about that.
I like this cap.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of people like that cap.
Yeah. But and having known you for so long, right? I was thinking about this. Like we're coming up on like 20 years of friendship. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's wild.
Like
That's
that makes
really wild.
me like that. Like there's a couple things, and it's just happening lately because like we're still young guys, right? I mean, we're not old by any stretch of the means, but we like there's certain things every now and then where I'm like, dude, I'm getting old. Like you know, like my daughter has a loose tooth, and I'm like, you shouldn't have that yet, you know. And then thinking up here, it's like 20 years. 20 years is a long time, period. It's definitely a long time to be best friends with somebody. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Because we were. I mean, think about that. That was high school.
Yeah, I remember whenever we were in that Coliseum at Auditorium at Clarendon when we met.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
You were
lightning struck that day.
green.
Baby. Yeah, dude. I was so green. You're right there with it. It's just crazy to think about, you know, and then Rodeo Time's building. It's just a lot of life experience playing up together. You know, and it's weird to But you and I are always forward looking too, though, right? So we got 20 years behind us under our belt for sure, but I feel like we're always kind of looking for like, okay, what's the next deal we're doing?
Yeah.
You know, which is fun. That makes it fresh.
What's the craziest thing you remember me doing or being involved in?
We had a lot of fun in Nazareth, Texas.
What's something
we could just do that.
that you remember about me that makes you not surprised I am where I am right now?
Oh man,
It's just like you think of that story and you're like, yeah, it's pretty on par.
Like hindsight looking back, it's like, yeah, that happened. We should have known when that was going on that this was destined. Man, two stories, and one is more of like
Comedy side of things.
Yeah. Yes, but at the same time, there's a personal side of stuff too, which I think is like one of your primary reasons for your success, in my opinion, is because you know, and you talked about it just a second ago, like the people and the culture and all that stuff is important here for the company that we're growing. Like that's one thing, but then externally for your followers, like they feel that too, right? And so I remember one time you and Garrett came down from Nazareth and surprised me in my room randomly, which kind of showed. You know, I remember that so vividly because it was like, okay, this is a really good. He's a really good friend, right? And we were good friends at that point. Yeah. But like, I just remember that going. I was like, okay, he's a really good friend. He really cares about folks. I don't remember what was going on. I was supposed to go to Nazareth for something, and I couldn't. So then y'all came down anyway. But so that did that. But then I remember on the comedy side, you know, we were at Area 1 Leadership Camp in Clarendon. And we've talked about this, but like when you remember you would do different voices, and so it was like hanging out with you was like hanging out with like the cast from The Simpsons, where it's like you would do that like Seth MacFarlane, like you would just talk in your different characters and you would argue with each other, like internally. And for us, it was really funny. I think for some of the older ag teachers, they got annoyed with us quickly, right? Yeah. Now, granted, we were like 16, 17 years old, so we were probably annoying to begin with, but all right, so we had that wireless microphone, right? Yeah. And we're in the auditorium, and you stole that wireless microphone, and you hid. I don't know if you hid under the podium or like behind a curtain or something, but like nobody could see you. But you were over the PA system, right? And then you were arguing back and forth between like Arnold Schwarzenegger and then this like little baby voice that you did, and you were going and it had it would have been funny if it was like 30 seconds worth of arguing back and forth, but then it became like this what's the term where it's like the Laudville sketches, like back in like the 1920s, where it's like, you know, like there's there's an old man chasing a young man like in and out of doors, right? Because there's all these ag teachers just like descended on the place, and they couldn't find you because you were hiding, and so like you're just sitting there arguing, and so like we're laughing at you because what you're doing was funny, what you're saying was funny also, but then you had like just like, you know, all the suits from the Matrix were just like trying to find you, and they couldn't do it. And then when they did, man, it was just like somebody opened the door on you in the bathroom. Like your face was just like, you know, like it's like, oh, So sorry. He gave the microphone and do just stuff like that.
Yeah.
When we would do that, is just looking back on it now.
Man, I remember that, but I remember and still to this day, I despise, I don't want to say an agenda. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean someone who's producing a movie and they've got a political agenda. I don't mean agenda in that sense. I mean literally this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
An actual agenda on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
An itinerary.
Right.
Formal planning.
Right.
Just formal I like things to be laid back.
Yeah. And fluid.
And I've had to and actually running a company, I've had to either get more itinerary based with certain things or defer that to Lisa.
Sure.
But I hated, so for instance, when we were, in office and we went and met the lieutenant governor.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Solid.
There's 10 of us.
Yeah.
And somebody on the team who had a relative with some power and oil company got this meeting set up. We're there. I'm in the back because I don't really care.
Right.
Right. I appreciate that we're there.
You weren't vying for that 2028 run? Is that what you're saying?
And I understand looking back how some people didn't appreciate my immaturity. That's what they would call it.
Right.
I personally thought it was hilarious. We had this
immaturity, perfecting careers.
Yeah. Yeah. People
tomato.
Yeah. I get where they're coming from.
Sure.
Looking back, but so we're all dressed up, suits, and we're meeting the lieutenant governor, and we had this guy with us who was big.
Yeah.
And me and him and Jamin Roller are in the back. Not to name any names, but Jamin Roller, he's a pastor at Citizens Church.
He incited a riot.
He's the instigator. He would be the instigator. Anyways, and then there's the big guy. And the big guy had this tick, like a sneeze, mm-hmm. but you could initiate it. Mm-hmm. If you touched his neck, that's the noise he would make.
So literally you could push his buttons.
Yes.
Yeah.
He had a button you could push, and he would it was like a reflex.
Right.
Not a tick. It was like a reflex. But if you pushed your hand into his neck, he would go, and try to get away from it. And it was just I don't know. It was sensitive in his neck.
Was that the one that would go, or was his laugh when he would go?
The laugh was, the laugh was more like a sneeze.
Yeah.
And when he got laugh, he would go, ho.
Yeah.
And it was he was cold, and he would just quiver, he'd be like, ha ha, and it would be really loud,
right?
And he would kind of lose control of it, and then at the end of the laugh, he'd ha ha, and he would come down off of it this wavy, quiver.
Yeah.
That was his laugh, but then the neck thing would be this sensitive part, and he'd go, ha! And it would be really loud,
right?
Especially in a quiet setting when you're meeting with the lieutenant governor,
right?
And so me, Jamin, and this guy, the big guy, we're in the back, and sweet as pie. Yeah. This guy was sweet as pie. Me and him we got along, and because I was very nice to him, and we were buddies. We picked on each other in a very loving, brotherly sense.
Gotcha.
It never really. It was
wasn't mean-spirited.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah.
We told each other we loved each other. It was, anyways, we're in the back of this meeting, and Jamin looks at me, and he was younger than me at the time, but for some reason had some, he's still younger than me at this time also, but for some reason he was one of those people that had influence over me, even though he was younger than me.
Okay.
Which was odd. Later, looking back, I'm
I'm younger than you.
But I don't know.
I don't have influence. Okay, keep going.
You don't.
You just threw me for a loop there.
Yeah, but he had a big brother influence.
Got it. Okay.
You influenced me like a leader, but he had more of a he could get me to do things.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
He and I were in the same grade, and so it was just funny that I found out later he was younger than me. And anyways, whatever. Besides the point. He looks at me, and then he looks over at the big guy, and he kind of nods and smiles. And I was like, oh,
We're
yeah.
talking about Jamin.
Yeah.
Oh, got it. Okay, I was talking about. I was thinking somebody else.
You were thinking the big guy?
Yeah. I
Anyway.
was like, man, I didn't know that.
I have no idea
you
how
and
old the big guy is. No.
Yeah, but I was like, I knew y'all were close, but I didn't know y'all were like.
No.
Got it.
Jamin's like
Okay.
one of the few people.
Yeah.
Because he was because
Yeah.
this is it, and he may have some answers. Might need to answer to some deacons for this, but because I looked up to him spiritually as a Christian,
Sure.
I figured anything he suggested me to do, it was like I had a pass. It's like, well, it's not sinful. This isn't a sin, like this is the guy I go to for spiritual advice.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
so
Jamin, be careful of that.
That's what I'm
because,
saying. Yeah, like you got some
You can influence people.
Yes.
Very easily.
to then walk over and stab the big guy in the neck
Yeah.
with all 4 fingers, and he make this loud sound, and the whole room stop, much less the 10 of us and the lieutenant governor. Boy, what's wrong with you?
So because that's how it happened, right? Like y'all were sitting there, and then Jamin was like,
Yeah, 100%. Because I was like looking up at I wasn't interested in the meeting.
I love how like impressionable or malleable you were.
That's what
to
I'm saying.
that.
That's what I'm saying. But it was such a good idea in that moment. Like whenever he shared that with me, I was like, oh my
Like
gosh,
that joke was going to land. Like it was going to.
Yeah,
Very specific audience.
I could
for sure.
Yes, I could not wait to make my way over there.
Yeah.
And the funny thing looking back was like the big guy, like he saw it coming. So like he saw me making my way, and he saw this grin on my face, and he knew what I was after.
Like, no.
And he's like
no,
hiding his neck, he's just like, and I kind of, and he's like, everybody else knew what I had done, because they knew his reflex, so to speak.
Yeah.
I don't want to call it a tick because it's not like that's something almost got a negative connotation.
His
to it.
reaction
This is
to
just
that,
a reaction, a reflex. Anyways, everybody, like some of them didn't even turn around. Like they knew what I had done.
Yeah.
Immediately
Just
pissed
immediate
off.
shame. Just like oh.
Like, why did we even bring that guy? He's got long hair and he's wearing sunglasses in front of the lieutenant governor at night inside. Anyway, lieutenant governor gives me a look and then forgets about it, whatever.
Yeah.
But they didn't forget about it. We had a meeting that night, come to Jesus meeting. Everybody was disappointed, even the big guy. That one hurt. The big guy was disappointed. It's like, I thought you got me.
Yeah.
Jamin didn't say anything in the meeting, but everybody else did. I just walked out.
Yeah, Jamin was a co-conspirator, so he knew he couldn't.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he
and I didn't want to.
And you didn't want to out? Did you out? So,
no.
Is this the first time?
No. This is probably the first time
that the people that were there and at your come to Jesus, know about Jamin's involvement.
Yeah,
in that deal?
Jesus knew.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course,
because it was a come to Jesus, and we came to Jesus, and Jesus was like,
"Hey, two,"
and he was like, "Look at there's not just one guy in here.
You better not say anything,
yeah."
Jamin.
But Jesus didn't throw him under the bus either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
until today,
he just came out. He just came out in the hall later. He's like, that was rough, wasn't it? I was like, shut up. But anyways, my point is looking back, it's like no part of me wanted to get serious.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. Still no part. Will not.
Well, and I remember.
Refuse to.
I remember even in college, whenever.
I think this podcast, maybe even this specific one, is the most serious I ever get.
This is?
These podcasts, as far as this is it.
Yeah.
Unless it's a post I make with scripture in it, this is it. This is the most serious you'll ever hear.
But and that's been used through. I remember when we were wrapping up college, right? And you were I'm okay, I'm going to go to law school and I'm going to do this, and 22, 23-year-olds. They feel this stupid pressure to okay, you got to have it figured out by now, right? No, you don't. Number one, no one you don't. But I remember being amazed at you whenever, because I'm over here, I'm like, dude, I need to be in a very serious relationship. I'm going to law school. I got to do these very serious things. like spreading the wings and we're flying. And then you were just like, no, I might go just work on a ranch for a little bit. You know, like, and I think you had, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but like you had some like decent offers on the table.
And I've had some serious job offers. But to be honest, it was always about rodeo.
Yeah.
Like I knew.
That's what it was.
I knew there was no way that I could ever do anything that would keep me
a sweet job offer
from being in a rodeo arena.
And I remember you had this sweet job offer, and I was like envious. I was like, dude, that's a great gig. But the catcher for you was like, nah, I can't take it. They won't let me rodeo on the weekends.
Man, and it was
and
like,
I was, you remember? And it was a
the
sweet
easiest
deal.
conversation.
Yeah.
This guy called me and he was like, hey, we'd love to have you. And deep down I was like, this is awesome. I'm not sure. And he was like, the only thing is you can't rodeo anymore.
Yeah.
I was like,
deal
oh,
breaker.
Okay. And he was like, but think about it. And I was like, oh, I don't need to think about it. I answered him like that. Like there was no, I was like, no, I don't need to think about it. Y'all can just call the next guy. Like no thanks. Like he was like, are you sure? Like you don't want to just like, he's like, I'm going to give you a week. If you call me within, I said, man, I'm not going to call you. I was like, that's my life. You know, like this was a side thing where it's just like society kind of pressured me. I might like, it was like rodeo first priority and then I might come to work. Right. You know, like that's what you were going to get. Right. So you made it easy. Yeah. Plus he called me like I was at the NFR, you know, like with all these buddies. Yeah. Like I'm in.
Like you're in your dream.
I was in a hotel room at the MGM.
Yeah.
And he calls me and I'm just like, as if, I mean, I would have said the same thing.
So you could pass up Las Vegas and the NFR and the Mirage, or I can go work at an office in Fort Worth or wherever that job was. Yeah.
And the only reason like I even went to that job interview in the first place was just to satisfy my grandparents. Not even my parents. My parents didn't give a you know, they didn't care. My dad was my biggest supporter. But anyway, essentially everything in my life has been so that I can be in a rodeo arena. Yeah. The only reason I didn't go to like the Pitchfork or somewhere like that was because you can't rodeo.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you work on the ranch full time, you can't. You know, they don't want you to
go out there.
Yeah, because you know.
So that's a true. Like, and
now they hire day workers.
Sure.
And I'm all in for that. You know, you bring your own insurance. You know, $125 a day. Right. Like you're there for. I'll do that all my whole life, but. You know, once you become a camp man, you're there. Yeah. Which is what Pop was for a time. Right. And anyways. So that but my point is like even working on a ranch, which is like one of the, you know, things that rivals rodeo the most, I couldn't do that full time, you know, because everything revolved around being in the arena. Right. Specifically on the buck and shoot end.
Right. Right. But yeah, that was I've been amazed at that for you, just your commitment to that. You know what I mean?
There was just no.
And it was. I just remember, like, even in high school, right? Like, didn't your dad set up like the first rodeo that they did? Yeah. In like a long time. Maybe they had one back in the day.
No, they never. They
never did. So like you did that, and it's just from the beginning, man. I mean, how much do you think of that was like Pop's influence?
Oh. All of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he died in a rodeo arena.
Yeah.
That's like, that's all of it. Ever since I was a kid. Like, that was like, he was rodeo. There was no person on this earth more passionate about that sport than, and like A-list judges, which there's all kinds of judges. There's A, B, C, D. Uh-huh. A-list judges are the ones that do the NFR. Like, after he died, he's like, an A-list judge came out. He's like, and he told me that specific thing. He's like, I don't know that there's another human that loved rodeo more than your old man, you know. And he knew and could do all events. That was the only reason why I don't think he excelled in any one particular one. He was just pick up, fight, bareback, saddle bronc, bull riding. He could announce. He drove trucks. He could team rope. He could rope calves. He could do it all.
Here's an interesting thought that I just thought about, right? Because your dad grew up, went to, right? Mm-hmm. Which is, and I don't know what it was like back whenever he was in school there, but like, you know, today that's not a very ag-based school. I think they have an ag program. I'm not I'm not crapping on that, but you know what I mean.
Sure,
It's
back
it's
then,
not. It's
everything
different than
was-
like
yeah.
Jayton. You know what I mean? Like there's a bunch of Cowboys that go to Jayton High School. You know what I mean? And so it's a little bit different culture, is what I'm saying. And you know, where you grew up, it was Cowboy was a culture. Like that was a very predominant culture in the
Yeah.
town that you grew up. But like that wasn't for your dad, I'm assuming. But he found his way to that, the sport of rodeo, in such a profound way.
It
So
was.
my question is like, what do you think? And this is I'm asking you to look into a crystal ball a little bit, but like Dale Brisby doesn't grow up in cowboy culture, right? Listen, you grow up in the city, right? Like completely lifestyle change. Like, what do you think you would be doing?
Man, I don't even want to.
Isn't that crazy to think about?
Yeah, it is 100%. Yeah.
Computer engineering.
No, no, that's too organized.
Yeah.
Because I think that was a DNA thing.
Yeah.
You know, like the as far as just more abstract.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I'm not an artist, but I'm just saying like more just go, just do it, like figure it out. You know, like I don't know. I have a hard time describing myself in that sense, but I don't know that it would be.
I don't know. I think about that. I think about that idea sometimes. Is like if you put somebody that's kind of well known for one particular thing, you put them in a different context, right? You put them in something else. Like what would they be? And I have a hard time. Like still, and maybe this is why
Man,
you're kind of built for what you do so well, because I
Entrepreneur.
can't put you in another spot. You know what I mean?
It would be something entrepreneurial.
I could see you being like a Gary V type. Like you know what I mean? Like you're creative, energetic. Business focused. So you do that.
Yeah, I remember
But like the Western
Fourth
world's
grade?
your deal, though. That's your game.
4th grade,
Game.
maybe it was. I went on a field trip. We didn't have a lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
and I had like a couple of dollars, like maybe 2,
Mm-hmm.
and I had like yo-yos were hot. Were they ever hot in your school?
Oh, dude, yeah.
Yeah, there was a time when
Every
yo-yos.
elementary school goes through a yo-yo stage.
Yeah,
Like I think
and,
still to this day.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. But like we went on a field trip, and I came back with no more yo-yos, and I had like $36. You know, which wasn't.
You're out there hustling.
Dude,
yo-yos?
I was hustling. Not just yo-yos. I would oil bearings.
Oh wow.
I had replacement string. So I sold the yo-yos.
So you were like a yo-yo dealership, right?
And
like
then
you
I
would
would-
sell somebody a brand new yo-yo.
And then we had
but
a service
you would-
department.
Yeah, service department.
Yeah, which I was also in charge of.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
we charged way too much, you know? Especially for a yo-yo you bought from me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Come on back. You're gonna need some oil for that.
Yeah.
I remember that experience vividly,
Yeah.
especially because like I was lunch line. Like I'm riding the bus. We had a bus over to the cafeteria from our school, and or you could like go walk to this burger joint. I wasn't walking to the burger
How
joint.
old were you at this point?
Well, so like
Like off-campus lunch was available to you in elementary school?
no. Like once you got into junior high,
Got it. Okay.
you could walk over
Got
to
it.
this burger joint. Junior
Got
high and high school, there was a burger joint walking distance, 2 of them.
Yeah.
I'm just saying in general, as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going the $1.50 lunch line, you know, whatever they're serving, I'm eating,
Right.
kind of lunch. Maybe I was 6th grade. No, I wouldn't have been. Maybe it's 5th. Anyways, point is, having $36 in a spot where I was able to now buy myself a not a more quality, because I'm sure the cafeteria food was healthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like a burger, you know, and like flex on my
Sure,
friends.
sure.
You know, Daddy's got lunch today.
I got that yo-yo money. You
Yeah,
want a
Daddy's
shake,
getting
baby?
lunch, baby.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was, and I liked that feeling.
Okay.
But I loved like selling things, so I've always loved that, and I think that was going to come out, no matter what industry I grew up in.
Man, it's just
Like I love
Yo-yos,
sales, but I hate
yo-yos.
sales.
yo-yos.
Yeah.
That's your
Horses.
that was your first taste of the hustle. was
Firewood,
yo-yos. Yeah.
vitamins,
Firewood.
anything.
I did firewood.
Horses were Horses are interesting. Horses are weird because like everybody thinks they can trade horses, you know.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about that for a second. Let me just kind of blend our worlds for a minute, right? So on the legal side, legal world, like we're settling a lawsuit or settling any dispute for that matter, right? Like everybody opens up with their offers, like, hey, I want 10,000, and then they give like legs underneath it. You know what I mean? Like this is why, because I spent this, because I'm out this or whatever. The other side kind of counters it with their own number with legs, and then everything gets to, it all boils down. Eventually the legs go away, okay, and then we just swapping numbers back and forth, okay, which is just I've always used the term. Okay, we're just going to get to horse trading real quick. You know what I mean? Once you get to that point, it's like, hey, can you live with this number? Yes or no? Can you live with this number? If you both say yes, then that's the number. But I'm interested to hear from your experience, like, is that a deal? Like, where, like, if I use the term horse trading, like, are there like farm shows in Kansas where it's like people bring their horses and they're just straight up trading horses? That's a dumb question, I know, but is that a deal?
Man, it's like the earliest thing that anybody would buy from somebody else.
Yeah.
Aside from food, like horse trading is like, when I refer to, sometimes horse trading even has a negative connotation.
Sure.
Like if you say somebody's a horse trader,
yeah,
like you either mean it like they actually, if you need a horse, call them and they know a guy, or you mean it like he's kind of a shyster.
Okay.
So because I think that's just like the earliest form of like trade that somebody can do, where they could like shyst somebody.
Oh, I got it. So like the negative connotation is like the modern.
He sells you a lemon.
He's a used car salesman.
Yeah, he sells you a lemon.
Like the same deal.
Yeah.
It's like the 1800s versions of a used car sales.
And the horror stories are like you buy something at a horse sale, for instance, and then you get him home and find out he was aced up, like a given like a mild sedative,
sure,
to like calm him down, and
right.
then you get him home, and his true colors come out when he sobers up. You know, like that's like a horror story for like a quote unquote horse trader. But there's people that trade horses that are very honest.
Yeah, yeah.
But the point
I think we
is
should probably cut
that's
this
how
part out of the podcast so it doesn't look so stupid on my part. You know what I mean? Because like I'm just
that's a good
I'm
question.
Sitting there and I'm thinking, like, I've always used it in the sense of we're just trading numbers back and forth.
No. There are
right?
people that do that. That now, like, usually, like if they're going to actually trade a horse, then, like, usually there's something to boot, you know, like all right, you got this 6-year-old that's, getting close to being done, like broke, ready to go to work, maybe rodeo horse. And then there's this papered up 2-year-old that's got 90 days on him. But I'm also throw in $5,000 to trade you for this.
Right.
You know, Garrison Gable, he's been on a podcast. You know Garrison.
Yeah.
He says that like when it comes tax time, CPAs hate it, but like bartering, like for instance, I found myself with way too much or more than what I needed square bales one year.
Okay.
And I had a couple young horses, and I didn't have time to ride them at the time, and he feeds square hay every day.
Right.
And that was a very mutually beneficial trade of like,
you ride
he
these
needed
horses
square
for me,
hay
and I pay you in hay.
And I let him, I was like, whatever the dollar amount is, you know, like, oh, you're paying $6. Well, let's call these $4.
Yeah.
I don't care,
right.
You know, or it's dollar for dollar, you know, because if he normally charges $800, he was going to charge me $600. So however you break it down.
Right.
But it was a very fair trade. He was excited about it. I was excited about it. And his CPA like didn't understand it. He was like, somebody got it, somebody. You know, and he was like, no, this was a good, you know, sometimes there's just a good trade.
Yeah.
And there's horse traders that are like that. Like this horse right here, I could go take him to this auction and get $8,000 for him. You know, if you want him, you know, give me $6,500 and we'll call it, you know, like there's people that will, and it's a $8,000 horse.
Right.
You know? But anyway, there's snakes in any industry.
Yeah,
and so
everywhere,
when you say the word, the term horse trader, like I think it just depends on how it's used.
So it's either you are literally a horse trader. And
Correct.
I think I have an uncle that lives up in Fritch that would fall into that category, right? Like he's like you need a Shetland pony?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
I know a guy. Like I can
For
call
sure.
somebody. We can get.
There's plenty of them.
Right. And
Zach Burson is one.
okay.
You remember Zach?
Yeah.
Zach usually has or knowledge of 2 or 3 really nice ranch horses.
Just ready. Like you need one, you call him. He's your ranch horse broker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And typically in those situations, guys will get 10%.
Shout out to Zach. You know.
Yeah. Sorry, Zach, if you get some phone calls.
We'll put your number right here.
Yeah, I'll put your phone number down here. And that may have changed, but I talked to him, 6 months ago about a couple different horses for some guys. For some reason, people think I'm that guy. And I think it's just because being on social media and it's like in the industry and they just assume. And sometimes I'm annoyed unless I have a horse that needs to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Or I don't typically sell my own just because by the time I get them, I really want them and need them. But like if I can make the connection, I'm not going to charge. In most scenarios, if you wanted a horse, I'm not getting 10%.
I wouldn't pay you anyway.
Yeah, because I'm a horse trader. Anyways, but I enjoy that hustle though.
Yeah.
Now back when that was like that was never the only thing. I don't think it's ever the only thing somebody does. And that's the beauty about meaning like you're a lawyer. Mm-hmm. Period. There's not a lot of people that are just horse traders, period.
Yeah.
It's going to, like, for instance, Zach, like he runs a few of his own cows. He day works a lot. He'll train outside horses. He'll trade a horse here and there. There's no telling what
he's
all
in
he
the
does.
horse business.
Yeah. Well, he's
broad sense.
He is a cowboy by trade.
Yeah.
Like that's literally in any which way that a cowboy can and will make money. That's what he's doing.
Sure.
And so there's not a lot of people that would, I think, that I can think of off the top of my head, like that's all they do, unless they own like an actual auction house. And
That's a different deal, though.
Yeah.
So, man, I just had a thought. It just escaped me. I don't know why I got on the horse trading deal. You said it, and I've always
cows too.
used it.
Cows are the same way. Like guys, there'll be guys that have cows or know of cows, and there's a couple people that I can think of that. But it's like the thing that frustrates me about is just the cliche-ness. Like sometimes, and sometimes you can spot the deals a mile away. Like just like there's just like buzzwords. That like this person may be 1,000% legitimate.
Okay.
With anything that they're saying, but like a cringeworthy word for me, for instance, cows. If somebody calls a set of cows, if I'm looking for 10 head to add to a place that's got a lot of grass or something, and I call and they use the word fancy, I'm getting off the phone.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why. Like it's just a gut thing. I just don't like it. Like and I think it's maybe kind of in line with the itinerary type vibe I get. Like I hate like an organized, like there's just certain buzzwords that just make me feel like
a buzzword.
it's
So if you call me and I'm like, hey man, I got a bunch of crossbred heifers, they're nothing fancy. You're going to be like, no, we're done.
No, the opposite.
Okay.
Like,
oh, hey, guys.
And it's not
Charlies,
just...
These are real fancy.
It's not just an
like, nah.
isolated word that scares me.
Okay.
Like, if you just... I don't know. If you sound super genuine and then you happen to use that word, I'm not necessarily getting off the phone, but there's just like a car salesman type vibe that some people will have.
Right.
That they'll use terminology where it's just like, you're a car salesman, you sell cars every day. Right. You've literally got a vocabulary.
Sure.
That helps you sell cars.
Pitch. Yeah.
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 Now, and so when there'll be certain people that, and I'm just like, man, you have these words, you're just using them. Mm-hmm. Like, they may not be quote unquote fancy.
Right.
Anyways, whatever. I'm getting into the weeds.
Yeah.
But the point is like cowboys are like the earliest form of traders.
Sure.
Like there were being horses and cows traded long before cars.
Fair.
Some of the same people, obviously. Like it's just, but anyway, I don't know. I enjoy sales. I enjoy a good exchange, like that one I was talking about with Garrison.
Yeah.
Like you got a product somebody really
That's a
wants,
solid.
and they enjoy having it, and you enjoy the benefits of selling it, and whatever work it took for you to get to the point where you're able to sell it.
Dude, you know what would be okay? So on that idea, you know what would be a
maybe
great,
it means make thousands of videos for years, and somebody wants to buy a shirt.
and as your lawyer, this is an idea that I have for you. We could work on this. If this rodeo time gig kind of like if the tide goes out,
ends up
like if it,
being something that we can all do.
no,
I'm
I'm saying like if this thing falls apart.
Oh, okay.
You know,
yeah.
like
could happen any day.
Yeah.
House of Cards, baby.
But like if it does, like I feel like you really would enjoy. Have you seen that show where they're like, okay, you got to take this pin, and you got to like barter up into like an airplane?
Oh,
Have
yeah.
you seen that show?
Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with the idea.
Yeah.
But I've not seen the show.
Yeah, I feel like you would enjoy that.
I think I would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could
It would be neat to start with more than a pin.
Well, you know what I mean. Like
But-
you got to trade up. To
Understand.
Get stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No. I'm with you. But essentially, though, like what you got to, I think and especially cowboys, like we're people of simple means. And so it's hard. Like, and I'm sure there's entrepreneurs in other industries that are like this too, but you just can't get satisfied with like I've seen like farriers.
Yeah.
Like horseshoeing's like a really honest trade. Like that's hard freaking work. But like guys can get content. You know, you get a couple $100 in your pocket and you're just like, well, I'm good for the week.
Yeah.
You know, and like you can't stop there.
Yeah.
And that's really any little bit of this, industry. Like you can't find yourself getting comfortable, because it can go backwards real fast,
Sure.
especially when you own a horse.
Sure.
So
I think, I think the cowboy industry though is uniquely set for that kind of barter system. Like, and the person that I think of that I see a lot that posts this type, like Tyler Terry will post a lot of stuff.
yeah, he's got a lot. He's got a lot of connections.
He's like,
for
hey,
horses.
I'm looking for
He's
these
another one.
types of bits. and I
Probably
got
more
this
than
saddle.
Zach Burson actually.
Okay.
Is Tyler Terry.
Yeah. But like those guys, like I see them all the time just because we grew up with them and went to White Deer Rodeo a lot with those guys. That was a fun trip. I remember that trip going back to your.
Yeah, that was wild.
That was a
with
fun
your
trip.
brother.
Yeah.
He really handled that situation very. I think about that often. Be cool like Caleb. I'm not kidding. Like that situation when that dude was flipping out and wanted to fight, and the way he stayed real calm.
Yeah.
But you never felt like he was cowering down.
Sure.
Sure. Because his voice and everything stayed very like calm and consistent, and it wasn't like a scared. But he also didn't didn't elevate or get angry.
Yeah.
But this guy did. And I think how calm Caleb was staying, this guy got more and more pissed. Eventually the cops came over. Who are the cops going to look at?
Yeah.
They're not going to look at the calm guy.
Yeah.
Who then like deflects. And he's like, sir, I was just really concerned, your brother.
Yeah.
I was just really concerned with the way this young man, so right before the cops came over, this guy starts getting mad.
Yeah.
So his girlfriend tries to like hold him back. Well, then he goes to pushing her away. And Caleb is like, so then all of a sudden he switches it. Nobody even knows the original argument.
Yeah.
And now he's like, hey, buddy, you need to stop pushing this young lady.
Yeah. Like,
May have even said words like exactly like that.
Yeah.
Which makes this guy even more mad.
Right.
Which makes her want to hold him back more. He pushes her more. Cops show up, and now all of a sudden Caleb has twisted this whole thing. And he said, yes, sir, officer. And he's talking like that calm. He's like, this young man here is just being irate.
Was he in high school?
I don't know.
He might have been judging livestock over at Connor. He might have been.
I have no idea.
But
he showed up and he was like the taller, bigger than this guy, and he was just like, sir, officer, this young man's just I don't appreciate the way he's handling this lady. And he's like, I'm going to turn the situation over to you, and I'm going to remove myself from it. And then all of a sudden, we all walk off, and this guy has to deal with the cops.
Yeah.
Because like the cops show up and they're not gonna grab Caleb.
No.
He's like calm and cool, and he's like, obviously. Anyways, I think about that, as you can tell, like I remember it years later. I think about that all the time when it comes time to deal with situations.
Like stressful situations, like
Earlier in the summer.
Yeah.
You know, just like, be cool.
Yeah.
Be cool. And not to make a fool out of somebody, but it showed me that, like, staying cool,
Yeah.
getting the opposite isn't going to help anything.
Right.
You know, like, if you stay cool, like, that's when you can think clearly, and that's when the situation comes
Yeah,
out
dude,
the
that's
way
a
it
good
should.
point. I mean, Caleb has always been. It's funny.
Was
for
he like
me.
that all the time?
No, God, no. Like, you know what I mean? Like we had, you know, people have asked, like, people ask Caleb and I all the time, like, hey, have y'all fight? And we're like, yes.
Well, that's
like,
different.
I get it, right? But like externally, Caleb and I are very like you know, especially in the world that I work in, right, which is a high stress. People freak out. Hey, you're getting sued. Like it's a big, you know, like it's a big deal. People freak out. They hadn't been in that arena. I was like, I know what's a punch and what's not a punch, so we don't have to worry about it, right? Legal stuff. Caleb's doing his deal. His businesses are rocking and rolling. Same spot, right? Calm, cool, collected. But like between the two of us, dude, like it was just like hairpin trigger sometimes. Like I remember, like the first day of school, maybe it was my freshman year of high school. He was a senior, so there was that dynamic, right? And first day of school, and we're like suiting and booting. You know, like I had like my Doc Martens on. I think the ones that you stole for like 4 years, and then I got them back. And then like my lucky jeans, like, you know, like first day of school stuff. Like everybody's dressed up. And then I got frustrated with our younger brother, Colin, about something. And Colin was like in elementary school. Dude. He was like 3rd grade, 4th grade. I don't remember what it was at. And Caleb got mad at me for getting mad at Colin. Next thing I know, like we grew up in Smyre, right? So like our front yard didn't have grass in it. And so next thing you know, we go from being like dressed, ready to go, like looking better than our Sunday best to a certain degree, to rolling around, like fighting each other in the front yard in the dirt, right? So, and then on the first day of school, and we get up, we all got dirt in our teeth, and we're like, okay, you done? Like, yeah, I'm done. And then we get in the car and we drive to school. You know what I mean? So it was like our relationship, mine and Caleb's especially. Collins was younger than us, so we didn't have that type of fighting. We never really fought with him. But Caleb and I, dude, we would fight all the time. Like my sister-in-law, he came to our house one time. I don't know if you remember this. We were in college, and we were supposed to drive back to Smyre for Easter or something. But I was sleeping on the couch, and he woke me up by holding my nose, and I just lost it. Like I got so pissed. And so next thing you know, like we're fighting in our driveway over on Trace Meadows, and we're fighting and like in between the two cars, like throwing like haymakers at each other. And then I was like, all right, dude, give me a second. I'm going to go grab my bag. You know what I mean? Like we get in the car and then we drive for like, you know, 8 hours or whatever it was. Like it was just constant stuff like that. But like, yeah, it's so weird to see Caleb externally with other folks.
Yeah.
And then like with me particularly, it was like, we'll fight.
Yeah.
You and Leroy fight?
No.
No?
No.
You've never just punched each other in the face, not one time.
Same situation though. My senior year is his freshman year. Like we were the same size.
Okay.
So
I remember that.
We knew, like we both got really close to those moments, and we both knew if this goes to that extent, it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
Real bad. And like we just knew that, and we respected that level of that depth of how bad it could get. I don't know, it was weird, but like it just,
never threw hands.
No, I'm not saying there weren't like very mean things shared, but like it's like Gus and Woodrow. It'd have been touch and go which one of us made it out of there. Gus and Blue Duck.
Ooh,
you know, like, and he's like, "Why didn't you shoot him?" Well, he was ready. It'd have been touch and go which one of us made it out of. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would have been touch and go. Still to this day would be touch and go.
Yeah, that's shocking to me.
Because I'm fit, and I stay fit. He's not. But he he loves the fight.
Yeah.
Like he enjoys it.
Yeah.
Like somebody was kind of instigating that deal a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, don't push that. I was like, and this guy he wasn't aware, and I was like, that's not gonna be pretty.
Yeah.
Like both of those people are gonna enjoy it.
Yeah.
And when you enjoy it, it's not pretty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't enjoy it. Never have, and I don't want to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What little I have, it's just not. I want to solve something.
Sure.
You know, that's just not. And Leroy's that way too now.
Yeah.
But for a time he wasn't.
I don't know why that's shocking to me so much. Maybe it's because maybe I'm like projecting my brother experience onto you. Maybe that's what I'm doing. But
And there's some things you can't come back from.
yeah, dude. But in a weird sense, it was almost like
Because what if it
what
if it wouldn't have? What if it wasn't like, all right, let me go get my bag?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And I think that's where
What
like
if
we
you
both
wouldn't have
had
talked
like
to him? What if like, yeah, that was the last time I talked to my brother. That was 8 years ago.
Yeah.
What if it would? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not saying that would have been it, but like, what if it was? That deep down, like, number one, it's not gonna be pretty. Number two, the outcome. You know, afterwards, what if it doesn't repair itself?
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know. But and maybe that's also part of like just me not wanting to go to that place with anybody.
Sure.
You know, which happened to me after Tate Jones passed. I don't know why.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure why, because that had nothing to do with altercations. But I walked to class with him the day before, and everything was cool. And then after that, like, I was just like, I don't know why. It had nothing to do with his passing,
Right.
but just when I lost him, it was a switch.
Yeah.
And not that I was like hungry for it before then,
Right.
but I think just the interactions I had with people, it changed my perspective. Anyways, we're getting into the weeds.
Yeah.
But
Not the funniest podcast.
well, that part was not funny at all.
Well,
No.
and I'll share the burden on that. I mean, I'm not the funniest guy either. I don't have the.
That's
funniest
what I was saying
profession,
earlier.
You know what
like
I mean?
sometimes these podcasts are the most serious things that
you do.
they are the most serious things we do. But outside of this,
I think I would think that sometimes your folks want to see past the clown makeup. Sometimes though, you know what I mean?
Man, to be honest, with the
they want to
podcast,
see.
I don't know.
That's fair. They do want some.
I mean, I think you're right, but like I get feedback. People will
Yeah, but I
text
don't
me.
want to be the Debbie Downer on the deal.
That's That's where I get the most feedback on the podcast is the text 940-353-0890. But this is new for me, so I might find out in the next 30 days, like, hey, I don't ever need to do a podcast like that with Peyton. Not with Peyton, but like the podcast I had with Peyton, that style. We don't.
Yeah,
need to
we
go.
probably should not. We should probably just erase it.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying like because the people speak. You know what I'm saying? That's what's most important.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
It's what I do, and the moment I disrespect that is the moment that I deserve to lose. That's what I always tell myself.
You know, the other thing though is you know, going full circle, coming back to Theo Vaughn, like not that he's the end all be all in podcast, because there's, you know, I don't know, man. I mean, like Joe Rogan's podcast is serious, it's funny, it's got a variety of different guests. You know, like he's crushing it.
That dude,
podcast-wise.
yeah. There's no telling too. Like
And
some
he'll
of those
bring on-
podcasts you listen to with him are really lighthearted,
Right.
and then some of them get super deep.
Right.
And I don't want to go that deep.
Right.
Like I just don't care to.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, no, yeah.
I'll talk about like life
even know if I'm
things,
qualified to
like
go down.
motivational things that have motivated me. Yeah, I'm not qualified either, but
Yeah.
like, I don't know. Hey, I mean, we're an hour into this, so like, if you've listened this far,
God bless you.
and you listened to the last one, which was with Drew Merritt, and that one ended up being lighthearted the whole time. Part of this is like, it's just me and you in here.
Yeah.
And like if Donnie, Leroy, or anybody else were in here to like ask the stupid questions about like what I was like or what, you know, like whatever, then it could have gone down a completely different. Anyways, whatever. If you've listened this far into this podcast, I appreciate it. Number one, if you listened to the Drew Merritt podcast, which was 2 hours long, then text me which one you like more, or maybe equally.
God, no. Yeah.
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 Tweet, DM me on Instagram. Anyway, there was a funny
There was
story.
more Katie Kaufman jokes in that one, so I feel like
Gosh, it's just so easy to talk crap on her. She's so terrible. Also, do me a favor, when you're done texting me which podcast you preferred over the other, DM Katie Kaufman and just tell her how much more of a fan you are of me than her.
Just let her know where your loyalties lie,
Yeah,
because we know where her dad's lie.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, that's still got to hurt. So just
With DB.
pour some salt on that wound.
Yeah. We also need to do the intro, so I could just tell them, like, hey, this is what you're about to hear.
Yeah, that's true.
Then it's just honesty from there.
Yeah. No, man. I mean, I appreciate you having me. This was fun.
I didn't get to ask you as many legal questions.
Normally, that's a privileged conversation.
Oh yeah.
We're not really supposed
And you
to
gotta
put
pay.
those. No, I don't know. But I mean, yes. But we're not really supposed to put those on, the internet. Hey, can I do this? Well, it depends.
I guess more I was thinking just like
Like what rapid fire legal questions? What did you want to ask?
oh no, I mean just like I guess at what point is it where you're thinking that you need a lawyer that it's too late? You definitely need a lawyer. Kind of questions, nothing specific.
I'll say this as a general rule of thumb. A lot of people think when they get in a tough spot, right? Like I had somebody call our office the other day, and they're like, "Hey, I missed a car payment, but I let my finance, I let my bank know it like before I missed it, and I told them like in 2 months I'd get caught back up, and I did that, but then they repoed my car anyway, and so like they're coming to me. And, okay, so like on the civil side, which is primarily what I do, okay, like there's a lot of like common sense problem solving where it's like, well, yeah, you've got an issue there, but like you haven't really been out of pocket yet. Like you've been frustrated for sure. Like it's a very frustrating thing, but like being frustrated doesn't give you a lawsuit, right? Like those aren't one and the same thing.
Yeah.
When you really get out of some money, that's a lawsuit, right? So on the civil side, if you just kind of put it in a general context, it's like if you're owed money or somebody's trying to collect money against you for a variety of different things, like at that point, and it needs to be a significant number, right? Like my rule of thumb is $25,000. It needs to at least that needs to be the floor of the dispute, because otherwise you can get upside down in a hurry, right? Like it's just not.
So you're
working.
talking about for anybody, not just people coming to you.
Anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you can do small claim stuff yourself. I'm not saying that you can't, and there's a bunch of principal fight. Like this is you see this a lot where you're like, oh, this guy's he stole money from me and that's not right, and so like I need to make it known that that's not right. Like that's fine, right? But that's a principal fight. So you're not really fighting over money. You're just fighting over that particular principle, right? Yeah. You want that guy to know that he did wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
More prideful.
Right, and that's fine. There's tons of those fighters out there, but you're not fighting over money, right? Really, you're fighting over the pride. So that's one thing. The other thing on the other side, where my partner Aaron Hutchins, he has a tremendous amount of experience in the criminal side. You always need a criminal attorney, right?
Yeah.
If you get arrested for anything, right, you need a criminal attorney, right? And that's and this is coming from a guy who doesn't practice criminal law. Primarily, I do some pro bono.
What do you mean?
The court.
If you get arrested, you need one? Like, because what if you're in the wrong?
Even if you're in the wrong,
why would you need one then?
Okay, because this is an interesting kind of conversation, right? Because having been a lawyer for 6 going on 7 years now, I get this, and I had this conversation before I even went to law school. They're like, hey, if you know somebody did something wrong, like how can you defend them? Like that's a common question, okay? Fair question. But I think people look at it from the wrong mindset. And what I mean by that is I'm not, what criminal defense attorneys do, they don't necessarily defend that person's actions unless that's a defensible position, right? So it'd be like, hey, this guy punched that dude and because he walked in on his wife in bed with that guy, right? Yeah. So it's like that's why he punched her. Or hey, like my brother
punched him
in White Deer, right? Yeah, punched him. Like my brother in White Deer was like, hey, why did you intervene in that situation if it would have escalated that deal? Well, because he was doing this to the girl. Like there's justifiable spots, but from in my opinion, the legal justice system really requires, and we want it's structured this way on purpose to where just because a cop says something, and this is not a dig on cops at all, okay? Love cops, have a lot of good friends that are cops. But just because a cop says something and they write a report that certain way,
right?
That doesn't mean that's how that happened, right?
Yeah.
And you ask any criminal defense attorney in the world, they'll go, yeah, I watched the video, I watched the body cam, and the cop said that this did this, and yeah, he said it, but it was taken out of context or whatever it was, right? So the point that I'm bringing up is you need a criminal defense attorney. If you get arrested, even if it's like an MIP, DWI, get a criminal defense attorney because, man, I feel like I'm plugging criminal defense attorneys hard, even though I don't do any of that stuff.
Well, I asked you.
But they're going to make sure that the cops did their job correctly, right? And that your civil liberties weren't infringed upon in a negative way. You know what I mean? So there's a whole caseload of stuff where it's like just because a cop pulls you over doesn't mean that he has the ability to, look in the trunk of your car.
Yeah.
Right? Unless there's there's a process that he has to go through, and a criminal defense attorney is going to know that process, right? So if he finds an open bottle of alcohol in your trunk, right, and he gets you with a open container, whatever this case may be, right, but he had no basis to search your car, like you can suppress that evidence, and a criminal defense attorney would do that, right? It's not necessarily that justifying the wrong, it's just protecting the method in which somebody is prosecuted, because that method is more important than providing justice.
I got you.
In a very technical sense.
What's the craziest thing somebody's called you to represent them for, whether you did or didn't represent them?
Man, that's tough. We get some crazy stuff. You're up there. You're up there. I enjoy. Let's see, some crazy stuff. Working with a client, it's not crazy in like the Hollywood script kind of sense, but there's some stuff where it's like for a guy from Smire, right? It's like, dude, that's pretty intense. Like we've structured, got a client right now where we are they're a gun manufacturer, and we're brokering a deal with a distributor in the Middle East, right? So that's like a war dog scenario for me. So like really, Smire, Texas, a little bit, like I'm over here on Zoom meetings with guys that look like they're in the movie. You know what I mean? They look like they're in War Dogs, and we're doing so that's kind of a surreal moment, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of a big boy move. Some of the deals that we've structured have been big boy moves that kind of have to get through them, and then I catch back and like, man, that was a big deal right there.
Yeah.
There's just anybody. One of my mentors, and this is a kind of a good rule of thumb on the legal side, is one of my mentors told me, he said, if something doesn't add up, right, he goes, it's money, sex, or drugs. One of those three things are playing out. And so like with that, like across the board, I can be like, oh yeah, this is a money spot, or oh yeah, like they're sleeping together, or like oh this guy's got a cocaine problem, like that. That stuff kind of bubbles up.
Man, that's wild.
Yeah, it is wild. It is wild. It's fun though. Something new every day.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to kind of going back to what I was saying. It's like I don't have a tangible warehouse to look at and go, hey, I'm growing this, but like it's something fun. Something fun comes up every day.
Yeah, that's an interesting play. That, I mean, as far as like what you're talking about the tangible, that's interesting. But
all right.
Anyway, you got to get out of here.
I got to go.
Yeah, you got to go to that meeting. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching, listening this episode, Old Son Podcast. The Old Son today was Mr. Peyton Holt, lawyer of the one and only Dale Brisby. Text me. Let me know what you think about it. 940-353-0890. Life advice, go.
Work where you want to live. That's all I got to say. Work where you want to live.
Do the right thing for the right reason and live with the consequences.
That also works.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Dale Brisby, on to the next one.
There we go.